Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we'll be doing another 13-minute AE tutorial where you learn tips, tricks, and shortcuts in 13 minutes or less. No BS, just AE. I will try to make my next several episodes 7-minute AE tutorials, but this topic was just too cool to pass up in my opinion, and I hope you agree. We'll go over how to create this faux 3D speaker using shape layers and layer styles. Then we'll dive deep into the audio spectrum effect, which has a few more options than audio waveform. You'll learn a new expression that gives you more control over the responsiveness to audio tracks. The best thing is, it's easy to use and easy to remember. You'll also see how adding a few minor tweaks to your final animation can make your work go from pretty cool to professional, polished, and unique. There's a lot to get through, so let's dive right in. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create our speaker. So right-click in this area to the left of your timeline, choose New, Shape Layer. We're gonna open that up and let's go to Add. We're gonna add an ellipse and give that ellipse a fill. Let's change this fill to like a dark gray. The key to making this speaker look the way it looks is with layer styles. So go to Layer, Layer Styles, and we're gonna add this bevel and emboss. And if we open that up, the main things we need to focus on are the style, inner or outer bevel, and then we're gonna be adjusting our direction up or down and adjusting our size. So for this first one, we're gonna leave it at inner, up, and we're gonna change the size to 45. Close that up, and we'll call that inner. Then let's duplicate that, and on layer 2, we'll open that up. And we're just going to change one thing here from direction up, change it to down, and then let's increase our ellipse path to about 140 to kind of get this outer piece right here. Duplicate that one more time. Open this up. We're going to change our style to outer, size 10, and leave the direction at down. And I'm going to go back up to this first one. Maybe we'll just want to adjust this a little bit more, something more like that. Okay, and I'm going to leave these color coded so that way we can kind of navigate these better. Let's duplicate layer 3 and change layer 4 to something else, maybe like a yellow. Okay, and then let's just increase this. We'll come all the way out. And we're going to change our style from outer to inner. So we kind of have this light. Let's go ahead and change this layer so it says outer. So for the outer layers, we need to add in one more layer style. So go to Layer Styles, and we're going to add in an inner shadow. So we open that up. Let's increase our distance, and let's also increase our size. Let's just change our size from 10. We'll change it down to maybe 5, so that way it's not quite so thick. So now we can make copies of this outer ring for the other layers of our speaker. So let's duplicate that, and now we're going to go to the layer above it, hit S to bring up our scale and make that 90%. Duplicate that, scale, make that 80%. Duplicate that, scale, 70%, and do it one more time, scale, and we'll make that 60%. Actually, let's make that 50%, make it a little bit smaller. Now you can either leave this speaker alone or you can change the colors. So if we highlight, say like layer 8, maybe we can make this maybe like a deeper orange. For layer 7, maybe make it like a blue. Layer 6, so make it like a green. Layer 5. I also want to put a cover over our speaker. So this layer right here, layer 4, let's make this orange. As this speaker moves to the music, this is when it's going to be kind of coming in and out. And actually, let's see, 40%. So I want the cover to go over this. And the way I made the cover in the example that you saw at the beginning, let's go to Layer, New, Solid, and we'll call this Grid. Make sure it's white, hit OK. And then let's pre-compose this. We'll call this Grid and move all attributes. If we go into our Grid layer here, we can just go up to Effect, Generate, Grid. Okay, now let's make some changes here from size from, make that width and height sliders, make both of these values 20, make the border 2, go back out to our main comp. And now we want this to kind of sit on top of this layer right here. Duplicate layer 5, put it above grid. And then for our grid layer, we want to set our track matte here to alpha matte. So that way it kind of sits on top of it like that. And so you can even adjust the sizes. Maybe you want to make this border 1. Maybe make these a little bit smaller, say maybe 1.5. So just a different kind of look. I have a piece of music that I am using for this example. I'm also a musician, so I write a lot of music. And so this works well with this example. Depending on the song that you use and how it was mixed, some of these values may be different, and chances are they will be different. For this example, we're going to use this piece of music. So let's bring that in, right click, keyframe assistant, and we want to convert audio to keyframes. And that's going to put a layer up here. If we hit U, we can see that it's translated all of our audio into these keyframes. If you do it in your graph editor, you can kind of see how this works. Values go up as the volume goes up. In this layer here, we want to focus primarily on both channels. So you can close up left and right channels. And if you kind of scrub through here, the lowest value is less than 10, and the highest value is around, you don't have to get it exact, but 50 or 60. So that's important for the expression we're about to add. Okay, so first let's go down to layer 7, and we want to parent our scale to this slider. Okay, so whatever this value is going to affect our scale. So as you kind of scrub through here, you can see it's already kind of starting to affect it, but we want to have more control over it. So we want to define a scale range where this layer only gets so small and only gets so large. And the way we do that is with an ease expression. So let's alt click on slider, and our expression is going to be ease, open parenthesis, value, comma. For now, put 0, 0, 0, 0, separated by commas, close parenthesis. So these first two values are going to represent the loudness of our audio amplitude layer. So the first value is going to represent the lowest amplitude that we want to use. The second value is going to represent the highest amplitude we want to use. The third and fourth values are going to be related to this layer here, our outer scale. So I'm going to say our lowest value, we'll leave it at 0. Our highest amplitude is going to be set to 50. These next two values are related to the scale of layer 7. So we're going to say we want the smallest value to be 40% scale up to maybe 60% scale. So that means layer 7 will fluctuate between 40 and 60 depending on how loud this audio file is. So you can see right now it's set to 58.7. As you scrub through here, you can kind of see how it goes up and down. It won't be smaller than 40, and it will never get larger than 60. Okay, and let's see what's going on with our grid layer here. Looks like I accidentally added an expression on our grid layer here, so just alt-click on scale to get rid of that, so that way there's no expression on there. And we want to link our scale from layer 5 down to layer 7. Again, we want our scale for layer 5 to be parented to the scale of layer 7, and we want our grid layer, we want to be able to adjust this. So see right now it's at 100%. Let's lower this down so make it a little bit tighter here. So we end up getting something like this. So I'm going to turn off the audio so I can kind of talk through this, but this is basically how this is going to work with our audio keyframes. And again, you want to make sure that you parent the scale of layer 5 to the scale of layer 7. And you don't want any expression on the grid layer. So we can see that this is now reacting to our music, and you can change these values. See how it's getting a little bit big? Maybe we want to make this 50 instead of 60, so that way it's a little bit tighter, and maybe make this 30, so that way it gets a little bit smaller. So see, now it's something more like that. So now let's close up all of this, and now we want to add in our audio spectrum layers. Let's go to layer, new, solid, and we'll call this spectrum, and then grab our ellipse tool, holding down shift. We're going to click and drag to make a perfect circle. I mean, we need this to be perfectly centered, so we can right click on this layer, transform, center, anchor point, and layer content. Go to our line panel and just center that up. Go to our effects and presets, and we want to type in audio, and you have the option of audio spectrum or audio waveform. The reason why I choose audio spectrum is because there are more options and you can do more with it. So just double click that to apply it. We're going to toggle our mask and shape path visibility so that way we can see this. And so now we have to set up some options in order for this to interact with our music. First, our audio layer, we need to set it to the audio layer in our comp, which is this layer 13. And then for path, we have a mask 1, so that's what we want to set it to, and you can see it pops right in there. So there are some settings you really need to focus on whenever you're applying these. The main ones being frequency bands, maximum height, thickness, display options, and side options. Adjusting these will give your spectrum layer vastly different results. Kind of increase maybe our frequency bands, our maximum height, just our thickness. And I'm going to turn down our softness just down to 0. So as you scrub through this, you can see by manipulating this, you can change the color of your spectrum. If you set this back to 0, you can control the color just with this inside and outside color. For this tutorial, I'm going to be doing some things with this hue interpolation. The first thing, if we alt-click on hue interpolation, we're going to do a time script. So we'll say time times 500. And you can see how tight it makes this color. The lower number you have, the more even it will be applied, and the higher number you have, the more variation you're going to have. I say about 150 is a good spot. And then let's highlight the spectrum layer again, hit R for rotation, and we're going to put an expression on this. So Alt click on rotation, and we'll say time times 35. So that way it's going to be rotating around as it's playing. Let's look at some of the other options here. You have, for display options, you have digital, you have analog lines, and you have analog dots. You also have side options. This is set to side A and B, so that way it goes in both directions. To side B, it just goes to the outer part of the circle. Side A goes to the inner side of the circle. So this really just depends on your aesthetic and how you want this to look. So let's duplicate this layer, S to bring up our scale, and let's just make this next one a little bit smaller. And just to get some variety, I'm going to go with digital, maybe increase my maximum height. And actually, let's go back down to layer 2 here for these dots. I just want this to be on one side. So we'll say side A, so that way they come on the inside. With this first layer here, side A and B, they go on both sides. Then I'm going to duplicate this layer again, S, bring up our scale. Now this time, let's go to the outer side of this. As you can see, this is the edge of our solid. So if we hit MM to bring up our mask settings, you can increase this mask expansion and watch. Now you can see how you can see all of your spectrum here. Actually, let's do that for all of these, just in case they go off. So we can increase this. You can see how they start to reveal more. And this is for our dots. So we'll increase our mask expansion. Okay, so now let's go back to our spectrum here. We have digital. I'm going to set this to analog lines, and I'm going to make the thickness a lot less. Make our maximum height, something like that. That's side B. You can add in as many of these as you want. Just adjust your scale, your placement, how you want them to animate in. Let's hide all 3 of these layers and hit EE to bring up our expressions here. So our rotation, we can kind of play with this. So that way they're not all going in the same direction at the same speed. So maybe make this one negative 35. We can leave that one at 35. Maybe make this one 50. And then for our hue interpolation, this is how fast our colors are going to change. We can even play with this just to have some variety. Play with this and make it look really cool. Increase the thickness of it. I'm going to slow this down to maybe 50 for our hue interpolation. Maybe slow this down to 15. And now I want to show you one more thing. We've been applying these audio spectrums to this mask. You can also just use the effect itself. And what I mean by that is let's duplicate layer 1, hit M to bring up our mask. We'll get rid of that. Click R to bring up our rotation, and Alt click on that to get rid of our expression. Now let's hit P for position and S for scale. Basically what I'm trying to do is get everything back to its original settings. Looks like this is slightly off, so if we right click, transform, center anchor point, I want this to be 960 by 540. So now we don't have a path, so we're not applying it to anything. But you can use these start and end points that are within the effect itself. Now I have this layer solo to show you some examples of what we can do. This first value is the start and end point on the x-axis and y-axis, and the end point is same thing, where the end point will be on the x and y-axis. You want your y-axis to be the same. Maybe we'll set this to 950, so that way it makes a straight line. And then you want to measure where this is from the center of your comp. So we have 960 minus 400, 560, and then 960 plus 400 will give us 1360. So now this line is perfectly centered and it's a straight line. Make the thickness on this maybe 5. We're going to increase the maximum height. I'm going to make this side A and B, and maybe use digital. So just going to see how this plays out. Turn on all of our other layers and, just play with these settings a little bit to see what you like. So that's the basic idea. Now that we have this cool animation, let's recap what you just learned. You can take advantage of layer styles to give flat shape layers depth. Experiment with using bevel and emboss and inner shadows to make your shapes pop on screen. To create keyframes that represent audio levels, remember to right-click on your audio layer, choose Keyframe Assistant, and convert audio to keyframes. This way you can link any layer or transform property to music and create impressive responsiveness. Remember or write down this expression. The first value represents the lowest value of audio amplitude. The second value represents the highest value. The third value represents the smallest value that you want to animate, and the fourth value represents the highest value. The goal is to set your amplitude's range to values that will make your animation respond accurately to your audio file. Since all music is mixed differently, Finding the golden values for the script may take some experimentation. The primary controls for audio spectrum that you need to focus on are frequency bands, maximum height, thickness, display options, and side options. Adjusting these 5 values will yield vastly different results. Try adding simple time expressions to layers that rotate to give your animation an extra little something. It can make your animations more engaging, just don't overdo it. I hope that helped you out. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. I'd love to get your feedback about this course, as well as any other topic you'd like to see covered. And don't forget to sign up for my new Udemy course, The Power of Shape Layers. It's a comprehensive course that covers literally every aspect of shape layers. The link to that course, as well as to the project files for this episode, are in the description below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.